In this part, we have another project called Pong game, which we are going to make from zero together. I played the animation once. This is an old game that we used to play on Atari consoles. We want to make something like this in After Effects. To start, we need a design. I have drawn this design in Illustrator very simply. I chose the overall size of the design as Full HD. I mean 1920 and 1080. And I have drawn different components of the game such as the ball, players, and background in separate layers. I have saved this design in AI format and imported into the After Effects. Create a new project. Double click on this part and import the Pong game Illustrator file into the program. I put the upper part on composition and the lower part on document size instead of layer size. If I put it on layer size, we will have problem in animating the ball because the box around the ball is small and you must zoom on the screen and click on the ball and move it. So you have problem in animating the ball. Therefore, in some situation like this, it is better to choose document size instead of layer size. Delete this composition and re-import the Illustrator file into the After Effects. So according to the project you are animating, choose layer size or document size. In this situation, I choose document size. Now if I select the ball layer, the transform box is the size of the entire document and it is easier to animate. Click on any part of the screen and move it. In this way, you will find out when the ball has hit the corner of the game. If it was on the layer size, we should have zoomed on it and move it very carefully so that it hits the corner of the game. Now I will move the ball and place it here. It is as if the player on the left has started the game. Press Ctrl-Shift-P to create a keyframe for position. I want the ball to move every 10 frames and hit the walls and move to the opposite side. Do you remember what we did to move CTI 10 frames? With Ctrl right, one frame move forward. If we hit Ctrl Shift right, we would move 10 frames forward. In frame 10, you can move the ball and place it wherever you like. For example, I will put it here. Animating the path and angle of the ball is a matter of taste, and you can animate it however you like. Press Ctrl Shift right and place this ball here, for example. Now if you look carefully, the change of the ball's path is linear, not curved. This is because we have checked the fourth option in the Preferences section of the Edit menu. If this option is not checked, the ball path change is done in a curve, which is not useful for animating of the game. The change of the direction must be done linearly. In this frame, the ball must be placed exactly on an imaginary line that is player's direction. To create an imaginary line, we use the ruler tool. The shortcut to activate the ruler tool is the Ctrl R, or we can activate the ruler from this part. You can draw an imaginary line like this. This line will not be displayed in the final render. I place this line exactly in front of the player because the player moves in a vertical path and the ball shouldn't cross this line. Now we can move the ball and place it exactly on this imaginary line. It is better to animate the ball first, then we will animate the players. Press Ctrl Shift right and go forward 10 frames. Move the ball and place it here, for example. Now I have to go forward another 10 frames. Press Ctrl Shift right. Move the ball and determine its direction. Don't place it exactly on the position of this player because the game looks ridiculous. Be a little creative and determine the path of the ball so that we can create an exciting game. For the player on the left, I draw an imaginary line to determine the direction of the player's movement. I place the line exactly in front of the player. I'd leave it up to you to animate the path of the ball. I want the ball to move for 6 seconds and then one of the players will score a goal. So far we have made almost 1 second of the animation. I do this until second 6. Try to animate the ball in such a way that its movement is unpredictable. It is a very good exercise of keyframing, and you will also learn about different effects in this exercise. Be sure to do this exercise and send it to me. Well, in order not to take too much of your time, I will animate 4 seconds of the ball's movement and take the ball out of the scene from this side so that the goal is recorded. Now if I play the animation, we have such a movement that is not very natural and doesn't resemble the movement of the ball. For example, in some parts the ball moves slowly and in some places it moves fast. In order to correct the movement of the ball, we select all these keyframes or click on position, and then right click on one of the keyframes and select the Move Across Time option. With this, the movement of the ball becomes more natural, and if you look closely at the keyframes, you will see that they are smaller in size. Move the CTI here and press N to limit the work area. Play the animation again. You can see that it got much better in terms of time. Now I need to animate the players. In the first frame, I create a keyframe position with Alt-Shift-P, animating the movement of the players depending on your creativity. Try to animate the players as if you are actually playing. Players move only in Y-axis and don't touch the X-axis. For example, to start, I will place the player here. I will move CTI a little and move the player and place it here. Now to make the game more exciting, I bring the player down just before the ball hits. The problem here is that because we changed the type of the keyframe, the ball is slightly displayed. I zoom a little on the timeline, choose its keyframes so that the path of the ball is displayed. Then you can move the ball a little with the arrow keys. Do this for the rest of the keyframes as well. Select it and then use the arrow keys to move the ball a little. Now I move the player a little. Put yourself in role of the player and animate his reactions. Here you have to lower the player a bit to hit the ball. It is better to animate the player on the right first and then the player on the left. The technique is the same, just animate in such a way that the game becomes exciting and the movements are not predictable. Of course, you can also animate the movement of the players using expressions, but here the goal is to practice keyframes, and we haven't reached the topic of expressions yet, and I won't talk about it right now. Animate the right player up to second 4. Now if I play the animation, you will see that the player on the right moves naturally and blocks the ball. I do exactly the same for the player on the left. In the first frame, I press Alt-Shift-P to create the keyframe for position. We don't make the movement of the player on the left exactly like the one on the right, and we work against it. Show some creativity in making moves and simulate the game of Pong by creating keyframes. Try not to move the player too up, as it may go off the stage. The size of the playing field is fixed, and player cannot go higher than that. You can correct the ball hits later. As I said before, due to the change of the type of the keyframes, the ball has moved a little. For now, we will animate the player on the left. The ball doesn't hit the player exactly. I have to move the ball a little. I click on the keyframe of the ball and move it to the left with the arrow keys. The ball passed the player, which is wrong. Move the CTI so that exactly this keyframe is selected. Whenever this part turns blue, it means that the keyframe is selected. Now we can move the ball with the arrow keys. I animate the rest of the ball movement in the same way. This is where the player on the left misses the ball. So I animate it as if it misses the ball. In this frame, I move the player up. I move the keyframes a little as if it misses the ball and didn't reach it. If I play the animation, we will see that we were able to make such an animation. Now we have to correct the ball hits on the corners and the players. Click on the ball keyframes. If the keyframes is selected, it should turn blue. With Ctrl right, you can move forward one frame. Use the arrow keys to move the ball. When you press K on the keyboard, the next keyframes are selected. Press K several times to select the next keyframes of the ball. With J, the previous keyframes are selected. When the blue color is displayed here, it means that the keyframe is selected. Now move the ball with the arrow keys. Press K again to select the next keyframe. Here the position of the ball is almost good. I will lower it a little. Press K several times. Here, if you pay attention, the ball doesn't hit the player. We have to move the player up a little and also move the ball a little. Press K and check the next frame. I will move it a little again. K. The ball doesn't hit. I have to move it. Like this. Press K. This frame is good. K, K, K. Here, the ball doesn't hit the player exactly. I have to move the player a bit. Move its keyframes a little. Move the player itself a little to create the keyframe. It's fine now. Press K again. The ball doesn't hit the wall. I move it up with the arrow keys. And do this for all keyframes of the ball so that the animation looks natural. Play the animation from the beginning. You can see that we were able to make the Pong game in this way. Select the keyframes related to the players and press F9 to make them easy so their movement becomes smoother. I want to apply another effect to the ball. I want the ball to change color after it hits walls and players. We can use the fill effect. Before that, hit U to hide the keyframes. Press Ctrl A to select all layers and then press U to hide their keyframes. Press F2 to deselect the layers. Select the ball layer and search for the fill effect from the Effects and Presets panel and drag and drop it onto the ball layer. I already explained that we can animate the options that have a stopwatch. It means that the color option can be animated. I changed the red color to white. Click on the stopwatch to create a color keyframe. Now if I open this section and enter the effects section, then look at the fill and color, you will see that the keyframe has been created. I want to change the color of the ball at the same time as it hits the wall and the player. So press U to see all the keyframes of the ball layer. Hold Shift and move the CTI to snap the position keyframe. When the position keyframes turn blue, it means that this keyframe is selected. Now in this frame, we have to change the color of the ball. For example, I choose red. As you can see, the color of the ball has changed here. Move the CTI and find the next position keyframe. And when it is selected, change its color again. For example, choose blue. This color changes is for the beauty of the motion, which you can do it if you want. But if you don't like it, you can skip it. But I'm teaching you the technique. You can do this for the rest of the keyframes as well. The choice of the color is the matter of the taste, and you can choose any color you like. From top and bottom you can change the colors. If I play the animation, you can see that the color of the ball changes. Now the problem is that the colors are mixed, which I don't want to happen. I want it to change color only when the ball hits the wall or the player. For example, here red is combined with blue and purple is created, which I don't want this to happen. To modify it, click on the color option to select its keyframes. Then right-click on one of the keyframes and select Toggle Hold Keyframe. By doing this, the keyframes will change shape and become square. As you can see, by doing this, the colors will remain constant until the next hit. The color of the ball changes with each hit. I want to apply another effect to the ball. I want the ball to be displayed in the form of a comet. By activating the blur option, we can create this effect. But by creating a blur, the ball is not very clear. We can use another effect. Disable the blur option. Select the echo effect from the effect menu and from the time section. Or type the echo effect from the effects and presets panel. Drag and drop it on the ball layer. The settings of the effect appears in the effect control panel. Now we have two effects, fill and echo. You can change the settings of the echo effects as you wish. Now by changing the settings and playing the animation, you can see that nothing happens. To solve this problem, you need to convert this layer to a pre-composition. First, I remove this echo effect from this part. Press Ctrl-Shift-C until the pre-composition window appears. We can move keyframes into pre-composition or keep them out of it. I prefer to move keyframes into a pre-composition. Now I give this pre-composition an echo effect. If I change its setting, you can see that now this effect works correctly. In the number of echoes section, set the number of balls. In the echo time section, you can specify the distance of each ball to the other. In the starting intensity section, you can specify the transparency of the ball. And in the desay section, you can specify the amount of comment of the balls. Adjust the settings of this effect as desired. If you play the animation, you will see that the ball tracks are reversed and we need to fix it. In the echo time field, put a negative before the number and the direction of the ball will be reversed. As you can see, this effect is much more attractive than blur. So we got familiar with the use of echo effect. If you want to create comet effect, you can use the echo effect. I hope you learned a lot from this video. Here you learned that if an effect doesn't work on the layer, by converting it to the pre-composition, the effect will work correctly. If you open pre-composition and hit U, you can see all the keyframes here. If I go back to the main composition and hit U, you can see that there are no keyframes here, and all the keyframes have been moved into the pre-composition, and we only see the echo effect here.